am here in the beautiful Grand Lake of the Cherokees in Oklahoma. And let me tell you guys, it is cold where I am. Drop in the comments, how cold is it where you are right now? If you're watching live, you're going to see a little live button up at the top. It's going to say live. If you're watching the replay, it's going to say replay. I just got off the phone with my little granddaughter, and she used to help me with my lives. And what she would say is subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. One day I caught her with my phone, and I was looking everywhere for my phone, and she was in the bathroom doing her makeup live on my wall. And she was saying, I got this at Ulta. And then she was like, I got this at Sephora. Well, she's a kindergartner, first grader now. But I will tell you, at the time, she was a toddler live on my page saying subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. So shout out to Lola. Make sure you subscribe. I was just on the phone with her. I asked her for her quote of the day. Today is an incredible day. Every day is an incredible day. Every day that you wake up is an incredible day. Yesterday was Dave's mom's birthday. And how many of you have just had days where everything is just heavy? Like it's just rough. You just feel like you're in all of your emotions, right? And sometimes we got to like step into that emotion. Sometimes we want to ignore it. I spent most of the day yesterday not on Facebook because all of the on this day memories were popping up. Can any of you guys relate? It's like, it's wonderful that you have all those memories, but there's some memories that you're like, oh, look at this memory. And you love that. It makes you happy. And there's other memories where you're like, I could have went all year without seeing that, because either it makes you feel better or it makes you just want to go get in the fetal position and cry, right? Some of us take these challenges, we take these times that we go through and we turn it all into suffering, right? Sometimes the context of a situation can completely change our perspective. And here's what I want to tell you guys today. I want to tell you about a woman who inspired me. 30 years of marriage, being married to her amazing son. And not just 30 years of our marriage, but before that, like Dave and I went to our first movie together when I was 11 years old, and he sent me a rose. And, you know, when I think about putting things into perspective, the thing I learned from Cindy Pitcock, who would be so proud today of her son and her grandchildren and all of the people that she loved, is that she was always persevering, not trying to climb the mountain. And when she didn't succeed, she didn't set up camp at the base of the mountain and be like, oh, if we only could have made it to the top of the mountain. She was always putting one foot in front of the other, trying to make a way. And I want you guys to know that life is not about waking up, reading your book, meditating. Maybe today you jumped in a cold plunge. By the way, how many of you cold plunge? Drop in the comments, I cold plunge. Drop in the comments, I never want a cold plunge. You know, yesterday, Dave and I were talking about our health, and we were obviously reflecting on his mom and just being healthier. Like Dave's like, this week I did something really big. I'm like, what did you do? He's like, I bought oatmeal. Like I tried oatmeal. He tried oatmeal for the first time this week. You guys, Dave is not a guy that likes texture. And I will tell you, oatmeal is something I never thought that he would eat. But guess why he tried oatmeal? He wants to gain more muscle, more protein, be healthier, live a longer, more quality of life. And I want to ask you guys something. How would you ever step out of your comfort zone and go do something you didn't want to do if you never felt pain, pressure, fear, or something that would like shock you into, I'm going to be healthier? So I learned a lot from Dave's mom over the years. If you were her and all the things that she went through, I guarantee you, most of you would have been at the base of that mountain looking up, and instead of getting stronger, finding a way to trudge one foot in front of the other, you would set up camp, you would look at the top, and you would just imagine everyone who wasn't a single mom. You would be like all the people who never did have to battle cancer. You would be admiring all the people that never they never suffered the loss of a child like she did. Like, she could have played poor little old me her entire life. But I will tell you something about her that was so annoying. She woke up every single day whistling zippity doo dah, zippity a. And Dave will tell you every morning of his life was zippity doo dah. And I think to myself, I was listening to a podcast this morning and it said, context really changes our perspective. If you think life is about waking up, meditating, sitting in your mansion, going and getting in your cold plunge, getting your juice, getting your designer clothes, and going about your day, that's not life. That is not life. Life is when you lose everything and you find a way to move forward. Life is when you're on the championship team. You're the one that has to kick the ball or run and pass the ball, or you're the dancer that's center stage at the competition. When your team is down 25 at halftime and you have no idea how you're going to come back. When your sales of your store are plummeting and it's a recession and your employee quits and it's election year and people tell you it's never going to get better, right? When you've built a team and all of a sudden you look around and you're the only one left on the team. Nobody else even has any interest, and yet you made a decision you wanted to win. When your spouse leaves you, when your banker calls the note and says, we're going to do foreclosure or pick up your car. Like, how many of you have literally been through shit? Some of you have never experienced that. You haven't even experienced life yet. But on the holidays, when you're heartbroken, on the holidays when you're burying a loved one, on the summers when you couldn't have a vacation day if your life depended on it, you can't even keep the air conditioning on. When you have to see your ex-husband with his new wife and you have to see that and raise your children as a single mom. Like, I think about people who are true grit. Like, they've literally been through so much shit in their life. And they've been through these seasons that were the worst seasons, sadness and shame and guilt and remorse. And it feels like all the walls are caving in. Like, you're literally like, if this whole thing comes down on me, I'm not going to be able to breathe. But your past decisions do not determine the future outcome. What we do in the midst of the storm, the chaos, the sadness, the crazy talk that gets in your head where you're like, is that really true about me? Because one crazy person told you that it was true about you and you keep repeating it over and over again. You got to get back up. You got to rise up again, because the very moment that I have felt like suffocating, I had this woman in my corner saying, things are going to get better. We're going to get through this. We might be lost. We might be stuck. We might be scared. But every single door that seems locked is an opportunity for us, not a challenge, not a problem, not a setback, but God setting us up for an amazing comeback. And all of a sudden, God presses play and you're like, I cannot even believe that this is happening for me. You know, I think about Cindy's life, and she was really into education, which I'm not. Sorry, don't blame me or shame me, but me getting a degree or getting an A on a test, or that was never me. I was the chatterbox duck that skipped all the school, that never stopped talking, that couldn't sit and focus on a classroom. Like, I'm a creator, right? So I was constantly like, how much more time do I have to listen to this guy? Maybe I could get my mom to excuse me. I would rather go home and paint a wall, rearrange a room, plant a garden, teach a dancer, create a baton twirling routine than have to sit and put things in a column. But let me tell you, Dave's mom, Cindy, completed me because everything was in a column. She had a red pen on everything that I wrote. She corrected every Facebook post that I ever put. She was a perfectionist. And I want to tell you guys something. It's important for you to pay attention to detail on things that are critical in your life. But what's critical? What's critical? Critical is that you step into your gifts and you start. Critical is that you do something with all that you have been given. And I have a little, what do you call that when you have something to help you with your speech? I just lost my train of thought. I have a prop. This was Dave's mom's book. And this book she got for free after her and my mom, very damaged single moms who hadn't attended church in many years, because we live in a small town. And when you're a single mom and your spouse moves on and you have to see this constant, and small town is small town. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. If you're in the city, you can go walk into Walmart and not know anybody. If I want to go to the grocery store and I don't want to see someone to talk about everything that just happened every single week of my life, I have to wear shades, a ball cap, act like I'm on the phone. I don't think I've ever went in the grocery store and not been on the phone. I do it for a reason, right? Because everybody knows everybody and they know everything about everybody and they want to be an informant. So Dave's mom, there was a time in our life where she literally didn't go to the grocery store for 2 years. I remember the first day she actually went back to the store and everything became long distance banking, long distance shopping. And finally, one day in 2006, we went to a church in Hays, Kansas. Dave's mom was a Lutheran. My mom was a Baptist. All the shit hit the fan when Dave and I were 18. And then nobody went to church for a long time. I think Chance was in the 2nd or 3rd grade. Believers, trust me, we were believers. We just associated pain with some of these people because they were proclaimed Christians, but they were judgmental, ran their mouth, thought they were better than everyone else, didn't want your kids with their kids, whatever the heck, right? So one day we went to this church called Celebration. It started in a high school gym. Literally their communion, they broke bread. It was Hawaiian sweet rolls. And the guy that started the church was going through a divorce. He was a DJ from LA, had been on the streets doing all kinds of things that weren't godly. And one day he found God and he was like, I'm going to start a church. And let me tell you, all the people came. It didn't matter if you were divorced, if you were sad, if you were mad, if you were tattooed, if you were an addict. They had a program for recovery. It was amazing. And my mom said to me, well, your dad always wanted to fill the pew. Now we got 14 of us. Let's go do it. And we did. And I remember that day, Dave's mom, me, Dave, all of our kids. My mom was still raising her own babies when I had my babies and doing it on her own. And here we were sitting in a church. And I remember that day, that preacher said something so profound and gave us all a free book. He said, at the end of this life, God is going to ask you 4 questions. What did you do with the time that I gave you? How did you use your gifts and your talents? What did you do with the treasure I blessed you with? And what are you going to do about my son? And I will tell you guys, it changed my life forever. It changed my mom's life. It changed Cindy's life. That day, I was like, God doesn't call the equipped. He equips the ones he calls. I started a nonprofit. Later, my son started a nonprofit for suicide. I started going into schools and speaking. Dave's mom went back and got her master's degree. We all were like, let's just step in, right? And then more stuff happened. And more stuff happened. And more stuff happened. And more and more and more. And life just kept happening. Whether it was a health diagnosis, the loss of a child, a divorce in the family, a narcissistic attack, a legal battle, a business gone bad, a poor financial decision, that's life. And if you think you're alone in that, let me tell you about Cindy Pitcock. This little book laid by her bed for 20 years. And as you can tell, not only did she open it every night, I think she might have rubbed her thumb right here every single night because there's nothing even left of the cover. You can see where she held it on the back, literally wore the color off of it. The pages are broken. They're falling out. But she could look up when she didn't even know how to pray. I want you to look at how worn out this book is. She could look up a topic and it would get her through the day. And she kept moving forward. And she inspired all of us so much every single day because she didn't need to be rich. She didn't even need to use her master's degree. She was getting a job as the main counselor at a city, Wichita, Kansas, when she lost her husband 1 week after she buried her son. Now, this was her second husband. So I want to tell you guys something. She wasn't only a single mom, then she was a widow. I cannot even imagine going through one of the things that she went through, let alone all of the things that she went through. But she was my hero, forever my hero, my children's hero. Let me tell you what her gift was. She loved her family. All she ever wanted to be was a mom and a grandma. And let me tell you, she was wildly successful at achieving her goals and dreams because she was the best mom and she was the best grandma. Now, I want to set you guys up to imagine something. We think our life is going to be a certain way. I always thought I was going to be just like my mom and Cindy. We were all going to be in a little town. We were all going to hang out every day. We were going to sit by the pool. I was going to go to all the ball games, whatever. Fast forward, I have a grandson that's 11, halfway across the United States, a brand new grandbaby that's 2. My expectations of what life would look like doesn't always look like what it looks like. And every single day, I wake up, put one foot in front of the other, and I read her little book and I think, what would she do? Now, nobody has problems as big as your problems. None of my problems aren't as big as what her problems were. I've never been sick with a life-threatening disease. I will not give any power to the words of any of the generational curses that woman experienced because we broke that. We're breaking that. We're learning. We're stepping through. I truly believe she is like a spiritual guide to me. Every single day when I pray, I believe there are angels among us. But this week, there were some very profound messages, very profound. And they're not mine to tell. Someday, maybe Dave will tell the story. But I want to tell you guys a sentence that I heard this week. And the sentence really shook me to my core. And it was, it's all yours. I've been thinking about it every single day. Because we think life is like, well, here's me today. So I'm 6 hours from home. I have Zooms every day, all day. My company is on the verge of explosion. We launch in 2 weeks. I don't have time to go get a suit. I don't have time to go pick out the evening gown. I don't even know if I have time to get from here back to home before the next meeting or Zoom, right? But I'm 6 hours away from home. Cali is halfway. There is a mall there. And my biggest decision today was this. Could I get done today at noon, get in the car, drive 3 hours, get there around 4? Would it be an inconvenience to her if I showed up at 4 and then I don't know what time the mall would close, but I would have 4 more hours I would need to drive home. So I could get there at 4 and I would only be able to shop until 8. I'm going to feel bad if someone needs me today on the phone and then I can't be present and shop. And you guys, we're thinking about like, what am I going to cook tomorrow? I mean, the Chiefs play. Am I going to watch the game with Dave? Am I going to go to Kansas City? I wish I could get on a plane and go see Chance and Lola and the kids. I can't do that. Like, we think what's important is all of the shit that really is not important at all. None of it is important. And I want to tell you something, guys. There are people in your life that want to create chaos every single day and tell you you're not organized, you're not smart, you're never going to get your shit together, you can't even make a decision, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. The reality is you're the co-creator with God, who is telling you exactly what to do. And you have all these stop programs that are saying, like, I see everything I want right over there on the other side of the mountain. But instead of just leaping and getting started, I think I'm just going to like tip tiptoe down the ledge. Maybe nobody will notice. That way they won't think I'm crazy. I mean, I want to be loved and accepted, but I really don't want to do that. I have this dream and this goal, but I know the whole world is going to be like, who does she think she is to go do that? And I'm telling you, the message is it's all yours. You're the one that's stopping from really stepping into what you want to do. And you're so worried about being accepted and loved and validated that you won't even be your authentic self. You would be better off to just step in and go, here I am. It's funny because in Dave's mom's battles with cancer 3 times, I can look in my journals and the disease always came at a time of really high stress, really dis-ease emotionally, which causes disease, either a lawsuit or the loss of a job or a whole bunch of drama at work, major life trauma happening. Like, I'm no scientist and I'm no doctor, but let me tell you, I can see what I want and I can see what I don't want. And some things that I have seen, I don't want. And so learning through these challenges, the pain that you feel is going to give you so much purpose. And you're never going to know what you don't want until you have it. And I want to ask you guys a question. What do you love? What do you absolutely love? Like, I love my family. I love having fun. I love contribution. I love contributing to people and thinking that I made a difference. I love entertaining my family. I love hosting Christmas. I love having everyone at the lake. It's been a long time. I dreamt of having everyone at the lake. It's never happened yet. And the one time that I did have Dave's mom here, she was going through rehab and on a walker and just had been in a head-on collision. Like, it was never quite like I thought it was going to be. My expectations created so much disappointment in my life that I just wanted to be mad. I just wanted to be sad. I just wanted to be like, this is not fair. But I want to tell you guys something. The game-changing moments only come in the storm. The game-changing moments only happen when you're pissed. They only happen when you're scared. They only happen when you're done. When you're like, I'm drawing a line in the sand. This is what I'm not going to tolerate anymore. This is going to be my new movement. This is going to be my new book. This is going to be the new song I write. Like, this is it. And nobody's going to stop me. And the problem with most people is that they've never had enough adversity to really be conditioned to be great. They're weak. People are weak. They get their feelings hurt because they think a Facebook post is about them. They're going to end a relationship with someone in their family because of who they voted for. They're going to get on their soapbox and talk about the dumb, stupid mayor that just got elected. And trust me, guys, I've been there. I have been there. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. And there are people that when I see them coming, I'm like, I better go a different direction or the non-Jesus side of me is about to come out. Like, I'm human. I'm just like every single one of you. Let me tell you something. That doesn't serve me. That doesn't serve me. And somehow, in the midst of Dave's mom's battles, one day we wound up at her sister's house around a table praying with all of her prayer warriors. And one thing that she said is, you have to forgive and you have to let go if you're going to get well. Now, this came in 2017, her second battle with cancer, where they said she had 40 days to live, 45 days max. November 24th to Christmas, they said celebrate early. She's not going to make it. We told the family on Thanksgiving that she had like 3 weeks to live. But you know what she said? That's a lie. That is a lie. I'm not going anywhere. And there was a little baby about to be born in a mama's tummy, and Nana Cindy was about to be a great grandma. And I want to tell you guys what happens when you're at the bottom of the mountain and you can see up there, but you have no idea how you're going to climb the mountain. You got to get in prayer. She had a page in here about fear. She would put everything, cast it out on a mountain and know that it was just going to fall away. She would put all of her fears on this mountain. And every day she visualized that she was going to see this grandbaby be born in August, you guys. It was November. She said, if I can just make it till August, the doctor said, it's no way you're going to make it till August. Then one day she went and got a second opinion and a third opinion. And one doctor said, this is terminal. There's no way we can get rid of it. It's everywhere, but I could buy you some time. I want you to think about the power of your tongue. He said, I can buy you a year. And she said, I'm going to see this grandbaby be born. And I want to tell you guys, she loved all of her grandbabies. She loved all of her great grandbabies. But there was something about this one because her life depended on this deadline of August 24th. And nobody thought it would happen. In fact, by Easter, she literally looked like she wasn't alive, but she was still alive. Showed up at the baby shower. I'm going to live. I'm going to make it. The power of the tongue. I can see it happening. When the doctor said, I can get you a year, she looked at him and said, you get me one, I'll get 5. And it was the week of year 5 that it came back. That's not failure. That's victory because she got 5 extra years when they said 3 to 4 weeks. And I think about that woman and I think, how could I complain if someone quits my team? How could I complain if my kids go through a struggle in life? How could I complain if I get my feelings hurt? How could I complain if someone doesn't notice how hard I worked for a dinner or a holiday or something that I did? It's our expectations that create the disappointments in life. And some of us, we've got to get our hopes up. We've got to get out of poor little old me syndrome and we have to do something. But we also have to realize that life is suffering. Everything else is a blessing. Real life, it's suffering. Heaven, there's no suffering, but here, this shit's hard. It is hard every single day. That's why, I love the Lord, but I cuss a little bit. So excuse me for saying that word, but it was her favorite word. I don't know, maybe that's why I never say that word. And today I just have her on my mind. I wrote down some notes this morning that made me think of her. In a perfect world, we know what's going to happen. But when there's an obstacle, victory is actually just simply starting. Just simply starting. What are you going to give life to? What are you going to give power to? What are you going to believe? The diagnosis, because the doctor said it, the sales report, because the numbers went down, the scale and how much it says you weigh because you didn't discipline last week. Sometimes you're going to be so low, your battery's literally at 40%. But if all you can give is 40%, it's 100% of all you can give. In her window, there was a little index card that had the 4 agreements. Anybody know the 4 agreements? Anybody know the 4 agreements? You could drop them in the comments. This is a pop quiz. Maybe I send you a free book. The 4 agreements are something that she lived by every single day. Number 1, be impeccable with your word. If she said she was going to do something, you could count on it. And I'm telling you, she did have some weaknesses too. You mess with her kids, might need bail money. The woman was loyal to a fault. I'll never forget when Dave and I were 23 and they turned off our city bill. We didn't have any running water and the kids needed a bath and bottles. I literally thought we were going to have to bail her out of jail because she had the city manager up against the wall and said, you least should have called them. They have babies and blah, blah, blah. It was my fault. I didn't pay the bill. I had to learn, right? Otherwise I would still be weak. And if that hadn't happened, I wouldn't know you got to pay your bill or they're going to turn it off. But let me tell you, that woman would go to bat for her family. She was so impeccable with her word. She did what she said she was going to do. She always showed up. She was there with us every day of our marriage. She worked in our office. She ran customer service. She did the hiring. She did the firing. She edited my book. She did my taxes. She balanced my checkbook. She cooked our meals. She rode with us to every event for the kids. She was the biggest cheerleader. She had the bracket. She knew who Chance was going to wrestle. She knew who Callie was going up against in hurdles. And here's the thing about her. Even if Callie was the shortest girl in the school and she said, I want to do hurdles, do you know what Nana said? You're going to beat everyone that does hurdles, because you know what? They might have long legs, but you can just do 2 steps for everyone. And next thing you know, we got a state qualifier in hurdles. It would be wrestling season. Chance would be on the mat about to wrestle someone. She had already researched who it was. She knew how much they weighed. She knew what their record was. She knew what their best move was. Like, this woman was the most incredible grandmother to her grandchildren that you could ever imagine. And do you know what it did for me? It made me want to be a great grandma. It made me want to be a better mom. It made me want to be an encourager. I was never competitive. I've never been an athlete. I was a dancer, but there is a big difference in a dancer. Well, dancers are athletes when they're competing and doing it at the college level. But to be honest, you guys, the athletic world was never something that I could do, because I always had 2 jobs after school and 4 little kids to pick up from daycare because my mom was a workaholic. So when I think about what she brought to the table, she brought something to the team that I wasn't, and it helped me to see things in a different way. Not only was it about being impeccable with your word, it was always doing your best. Always doing your best. Do you always do your best? Be honest. Or are you kind of operating halfway? Doing your best should be a prerequisite for you to feel successful. Doing your best you should do even if you feel like you suck at it. You do your best, it's going to build your confidence. She always did her best every single day. Sometimes all she could do was just get up and get from the bed to the couch. But she was so stubborn, even till the last day when I was like, listen, I'm trying to lift you to this commode next to the couch. I'm trying to get your clothes on and off you. I'm trying to get food in your mouth when you can't. Like, we need to go to the hospital. Nope, don't need it. Don't want to miss my dog. Don't want to be weak. Don't want to, she was not giving up until the end. Always doing her best. And I learned a lot from her because she never complained. Never complained. Never took a pain pill. With cancer throughout her entire body, she wasn't giving up. She just used CBD instead of Percocet. She would use some essential oils instead of whatever the prescription pain cream was. This woman was literally a walking testimony of true grit and strength. And you know what? I should have let her stay home with her dog, because she was right. She was right. It was the last time she was going to sit on that couch with her dog. And I think about a book that I'm reading right now called Let Them. My entire life, I have been a mom, a grandma, a upline, a CEO, a wife, whatever I was. I'm always trying to control, fix, lessen the suffering, lighten the blow, redirect if they're on the wrong path. And when I think about her, she was very controlling, very controlling. She always had an extra water bottle in her purse because you were going to forget one. She had all the Kleenexes, the Band-Aids. When I think of the book by Mel Robbins, if you guys haven't read it, go read it. Let Them. When I think of how she lived her life and everything she harbored that probably created so much dis-ease emotionally, I wish that her and I would have read that book 10 years ago, because one thing I have learned from her is what maybe I could do to get better, to avoid so much of the emotional, energetic debt that a mom, a grandma, a CEO, she ran the whole office for us, all the things, some of the things that we carry. And I want to keep this about her instead of this new book, but being impeccable with your word, always doing your best. Another one is don't take things personally. People said a lot of things about us. People still do. I got a lot of haters. People got a lot of opinions. You know what? My mentor told me, if you're not taking tomatoes, you're not doing anything. But one of the things, to not take things personally, it's hard because the reality is this person said it or this person did it and it might not be fair or whatever. But what happens is when we take it personally, it actually lowers our vibration and causes us to feel a certain way. And so it's not what happens to you, it's how you react. And this she was really, really good at, because to live in a small town for 30 years and live in the same town where all the trauma and all the drama and all the news and all of the, let's just say our family kind of put the funk in dysfunction. We did. We could do a Jerry Springer show and y'all would be like, wow, if that's really real, I can't believe that they're not famous for that. We wouldn't even have to have any actors. If we just went live, people would be very entertained. But here's the deal. We don't react. We don't take things personally. We know this is life. There's controllables and there's uncontrollables. And you have to decide some things you just can't change. But with so much grace and a smile on her face, this woman just showed up every single day. In the midst of all of it, she was happy, singing Zippity Doo Dah, listening to Barry Manilow or the Statler Brothers and that trombone. Oh my gosh. I can literally sing the word to every song because Dave and I would go spend the weekends with her and there it was. It was always on the radio. She woke up early, did her makeup and hair first before anybody else interrupted her day. I wish I could get better at that. I got ready last night at 7:00 to do a Zoom at 8. And I was like, why did I get ready at 8 just to take off my makeup and go back to bed? She woke up, put herself first and said, I am going to look good. The classiest lady you ever met, always dressed to the nines, even if it was a sweatshirt and a little dickie, it matched. And then she had the earrings with the little dangles and the necklace had to match the earrings. Literally a class act. Now, why? Because there was a time in her life where she said, I have to put myself first and make this a priority. I don't know what chapter she learned that in. I think when Dave was a very little boy, but she raised an amazing man. And when you look at a man and how he treats his mother, it will tell you a lot about that man. I remember the first time I came home from Wyoming with Dave and went to his mom's house. Now, I knew her my whole life because we went to school together, but we had both been engaged to someone else. Imagine you're the mom. We broke off our engagements, ran away to Cody, Wyoming, where there was a nightly rodeo, fell in love, got pregnant, and came back home. And this woman must have been thinking, wow, that's not quite how I thought Dave's life was going to go, but here comes Barb Pickuck in the door, right? She opened the door. She had her makeup on. She always smelled good. She gave him a big hug. She hugged him and kissed him more than I do. And my mom's not touchy-lovey. One of the first times I heard my mom say, I love you, they thought I was dying giving birth to Brooklyn. My mom is tough as nails. She would expect I would know she loves me, but she's not kissing my forehead and, personal touch, that is not how I grew up. You knew you better be tough and nobody's telling you I love you 5 times a day. Now I do it every morning and every night and can't even fall asleep if I forget to tell my kids I love them. But we learn what we live and it makes us who we are. But this woman loved like no other. If you knew her, drop in the comments you knew her. Always a smile, always a hug, always a kiss, always a wave, always a birthday card, always a sympathy card, always showed up with a chocolate cake or something that she made because she wanted to make you happy. Something else about her in her window on the index card, one of the 4 agreements, was don't make assumptions. And we are all guilty of this. We make assumptions every single day. We assume that someone doesn't love us because they forgot our birthday. Like yesterday, at the end of the day, when I had not been on Facebook all day long, A lady who helps me, Donna Valdez, helps me with so much right now. It was her birthday and I didn't even know it was her birthday. Can you imagine if she didn't know these 4 agreements and she's like, I work my butt off with her all the time, did so much for her even yesterday. She didn't even tell me happy birthday. She didn't send me a gift. She didn't send me flowers. She didn't send me a text. Didn't even answer my call. She was too busy. And it's my freaking birthday. Now, can you imagine how many of you do this every single day? At the end of the day, I'm like, oh no, Donna, it's not your birthday. Like, you don't have the same birthday as Cindy. And she's like, I do. And then we're laughing and she's like, you suck. And I'm like, I do suck. I got to get better. Like, we're laughing about it, but I'm not taking anything personally, and neither is she, because this personal development makes you grow. You're only going to be, if you're growing, your income's growing. If you're growing, your relationships are growing. If you're growing, your health is getting better. If you're growing, everything is growing. If not, it's dying. That's gravity, right? You're either growing or you're dying. Well, Cindy and I were both on the same subscription for training books for about 12 years. So the good thing about it, every time I got a training subscription, she got one. And next to me today in this vacation home is her entire library that is almost identical to the library that I created at home from 1996 until about 2013 or 14. When we did an acquisition with a company that we owned, we had a training system every month. You paid for it. $35 a month for the book, 35 months a month for the 2 tapes. And if you got them, you were going to read them. If you got them, you were going to listen to them. We were on a journey together. We grew an empire. We created a legacy. We raised people that didn't believe they could have their dreams to believe that they could have their dreams. We probably extended the life years of them because we helped people together every single day. Cindy answered the phone at our essential oil private label company. She answered the phone at our network marketing company. She answered the phone, Barb School of Dance. We started a furniture company together. She answered the phone for my book orders. She answered the phone when Dave wrote his book. Like, whatever it was, Dave and I were out there making it rain, and this lady was in the office answering the phone, putting everything in a column. To say that when we lost her, it was the greatest loss ever is just a weak statement. I don't even know how to explain the loss. But I want to tell you guys what happened at the bottom of that mountain, at the bottom of that grief. The 3rd time cancer came back, we were like, we're going to beat this. And then everybody was like, no, you're not. No, you're not. Now, it's hard to think that life is going to end someday. And none of us thought that with her because, like, she's a warrior. She had a head-on collision with the SUV, was in ICU trauma unit for 90 days. We drove 3 hours one way every day. Then she was in a rest home. They said she would never walk. She got back up. Not only did she walk, she wanted to drive, right? And when I think about this woman, I think, why don't y'all quit making excuses? Why don't you just step into your greatness? Do your best. Be impeccable with your word. Quit making assumptions and don't take anything personally. Make a decision. The opportunity to say, wow, like, this is discomfort, but this pain is going to make me get to work. Like, wow, this is a diagnosis, but this story of victory is going to change people's lives. One problem at a time. Because the problem to her was always the opportunity. When she lost her job as the administrator of the entire hospital, she didn't lose her job. She walked based on integrity things, which I'm not even going to say who was right and who was wrong, but she walked. And she came to Dave and said, what should we do? And I will never forget it. She said, I'm going to open a furniture store. And she did. And I was like, what are you guys doing opening a furniture store? I had 2 babies, one on the way. We were killing it in network marketing. Next thing I knew, a single lady at age 55 opens a furniture store in the mall selling $20,000 a month in furniture. Dave's driving and getting it in trucks as fast as he can. She can't even keep it in stock because she just said, I'm going to go do it. Like, I'm doing it. And I think for most of you, we just need to take action. You're just looking up at things like, one of these days, I'm going to earn the confidence. No, it's one step at a time in the midst of the problem, because the challenge is usually where the opportunity comes from. And in closing, I'll just say, we live in an imperfect world. We're not going to get from point A to point B. It has taken us 2 years to create the headstone for this amazing woman because, quite honestly, it's painful. It's one of those things you're like, what do you even put on a stone for a woman that was that amazing? But it's a Winnie the Pooh saying. It's a Winnie the Pooh saying on the back because she gave this she was like the Nana to all of my nieces and nephews too. Even though she wasn't their Nana, they all called her Nana. And when we have Christmas, there's like 55, 60 people in the room. Our family is so strong because of the shit we've been through. And she would give every single grandkid, niece, nephew, everybody, whether they graduated or it was kindergarten graduation or high school or college, the Winnie the Pooh saying with Piglet. And it was always that, you're wiser than you know, and you're stronger than you think. Some of you know it, some of you don't. Go look it up. But it's basically like when we're not together anymore, I want you to know. And it's like she just knew, like this was something that people would always remember when she wasn't there anymore. Yesterday, I was watching all of her old videos. I wanted to post one because she knew. I have a video of her opening the last gift that arrived at the hospital in the mail from Melinda Wynn. It was her favorite smell. It was lilacs. It was a candle that Melinda made. She was opening it. I was videoing it. I sent it to Melinda. Little did I know she would have one more visitor and not really ever remember that visitor again. But Claudette Noble was trying to drive to see her and they were like, no more visitors. These were people that she did 20 years of life with in network marketing with us. True family friends, along with all of our blood relation, right? People were bringing letters and cards and how much of an impact she had made in their life. Her last video she made, she said, now when I go, I don't want you guys to be sad, Barb. I want you to video this. And she said, at the funeral, I want you to play it on the big screen because I don't want my son sitting there in the front row crying. And we didn't play it. And Dave doesn't want to play it. But she said, I don't want you to be like Eeyore. Don't be like Eeyore. It's another gloomy day. She literally said it just like that. And we were all in the hospital just laughing at her hysterically. She said, I don't care how cold it is. I want you to put me right in the middle of the baseball field because I want to hear the crunch of the rocks like my kids in their cleats every summer for baseball. I don't even know how I'm telling you guys this story without sobbing. There is like a Holy Spirit within me right now, but this is what she said. She said, I imagine everyone in a baseball stadium, and I imagine the sound of the gravel and the rocks. And I know what I've done in this life. But she said, when I get there, I would just look at Jesus and say, put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. And she's like, that's what I want you to play. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. And I was thinking about that because here we are 2 years later. Like, because of her pain, I literally was like, we got to have something that gets minerals in people's body. Like, we got to help people understand you can't have an acid body. It needs to be alkaline. We can never not pay attention to what we're putting in our bodies. Like, I was so broken, I couldn't have beat myself out of a paper bag. Influenza A, shingles all over my body, pneumonia. It's the day of her funeral. It's so damn cold. It's ice, it's snow, it's Thanksgiving the next day. So pretty much nobody can come to the service. It was freezing cold. It was a terrible day. But I remember that day picking up this book because it's all I knew to do and opening it up to the page that talked about fear because it was the one page I really wanted to open it to, the one on grief. These books are not in print anymore. I spent a fortune trying to find 4 for my kids that Christmas. But this is what I want to close with because this is what I read that day. What can I do when I am overcome with fear and I can't go on? God is our refuge and our strength. always ready to help us in times of trouble. So we will not fear, even if earthquakes come, even if the mountains crumble all around us. I am giving you a gift, peace of mind and heart. So don't be troubled or afraid. God promises to comfort us in our fear if we seek Him and we're afraid. We have the confident assurance that He is with us in every circumstances. And when is fear good? God is so great and mighty that because He holds the power of life and death in His hands, we must have a healthy, reverent fear of Him. A healthy fear helps us, helps our perspective. And if we let this healthy fear of God motivate us, we will strive. There's so many things in here. The one that I actually loved the most, it's not in this book. It's hanging at home on my mirror. But I'll post it here in the comments. But it talked about taking that thing that you're so afraid of. It's in Isaiah, and you put it up on this mountain, and you just know that everything that's happening is happening for you, not against you. That through these challenges will come the greatest opportunities. And through all of the pain, you will reach people. You know, she went on to run Big Brothers Big Sisters. Never really needed her master's degree in counseling. Can you imagine getting a master's degree in counseling, graduating in the spring, and your son takes his life in July? How could you counsel anyone? You would be like, God, what in the heck is going on, right? But sometimes the hell that we go through literally gives us, it's the light that comes in the midst of the darkness. And I believe that's why she was so good at what she did, because she had actually been through it. You know, you can't lead where you don't go, and you can't teach what you don't know. And this woman knew forgiveness. She knew love. She knew perseverance. She knew grit. She knew strength. She knew how to overcome fear. At the end, all the forgiveness happened. If you don't know about the Hawaiian forgiveness thing, where you reach out to the people that you have had the most pain with and you say, I love you, I'm sorry, thank you, please forgive me, I forgive you. If you don't know about that, go Google it. Her and I did a lot of work, like letting go of everything. At the end, it didn't matter. And let me tell you the most beautiful part of this story. At the end of her life, who sat next to Dave every day in the hospital was his dad. All those years of marriage before the divorce in 1990, it's like none of that hate mattered anymore. And everybody was like, what the heck? What is he doing here, right? It was complete forgiveness. It was all love. I gained so much respect during that last week. And I'll tell you something. She was so damn stubborn. I slept on the floor at the hospital for 2 weeks, and she loved her son so much. The one night I left just to go home at midnight and come back with pajamas, she waited until I left. And I was driving on Volta Road out to our farm, and I called Dave and I said, the craziest thing happened. It was like an explosion happened in the road. I know you're all going to think I'm nuts now, but this is how God works. There was this falling star that literally like came out of the sky, and I thought it was on fire in the road, and then it was gone. And I called Dave and I'm like, I was so scared. I just wanted to call you, like, I'm okay, but the craziest thing just happened. And he said, Barb, my mom is gone. And I want to tell you guys, energy is real. God is real. I feel her show up every single day, a red cardinal out my window, a prospect that calls me, and it's like, okay, that was God. A leader that says, I want to work with you. I love what your mission is. A child that calls and says, I just had this feeling. Like every day we're like, that's Nana. That's God. That's Nana. That's God. I'm going to tell you guys, there are angels among us sent down to us from someplace up above. And they come to you and me at our finest hour. We just have to quit focusing on the problem and listen to God. God is all around us. He is in us every single day. And Cindy taught me so much about faith and perseverance. This little book, I'll post her favorite verse later, a picture of it, changed my life. She changed my life. She would be so proud of me. I didn't cry. I did this entire morning about her. The greatest gift she gave me was an amazing husband. And I will tell you, amazing moms raise amazing men. And that would be the thing that she is the most proud of. So anyway, I love you guys. I'll share more about her. I could literally write a whole book, lessons I learned from Cindy, especially her recipes. Last night, I cooked her best chicken and noodles the way my mom makes it, he says. We went to play her favorite slot machine, lost the $100 bill. I guess the sign was, don't go to the casino. But we did everything we could to just be grateful for the time that we had with her and to know that she made impact. And I hope that you guys are inspired by Cindy Lou Pitcock, my mother-in-law, and the amazing angel that I feel every single day. I love you guys. I hope you have an awesome week.